Awesome. Well, I'm super stoked to be here, guys, especially with this rock star panel. I'm going to let everyone do me a favor. James, let's start with you and go in order. Give us a quick introduction, your name and where you're from, and then I'll come back after we hit all five and hit you guys with the first couple of questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Honored to speak to you all. My name is James Stroop. I'm Brent Gove's partner. Most of you probably know who Brent is, and I'm the COO of Gove Enterprises, Inc.
Awesome. Mr. Reese.
Michael Reese, Dallas, Texas. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the panel. Ready to rock and roll.
Love it. Gogo, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor. Originally from Romania, kidding, not kidding, truly from Romania, work in Michigan. Thank you for having me.
Great. Awesome. And Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy Pack from Fredericksburg, Texas, where we have Absolute Charm Real Estate Group, and just really excited to share today.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And Kevin Cottrell, how you doing, buddy? We got you? All right. I am not hearing. I don't know if Kevin's having any problems with his mic. Kevin, if you're there, just ping us in the chat bar, and I'll go ahead and get started to go back. So let's get started off. James, we'll start with you. Give us a question of I want to start with getting started. I think the biggest question that agents have, or one of the bigger questions that agents have is how do I get started with this? How do I set up? Do I need to create some agents list, a list of agents I want to call? Where do you get started when it comes to your attraction processes and systems?
Cool. Great question. I think most of us obviously have a varied experience in real estate between 0 and 5 years, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. Is there echo here, or is it all good? All good?
Good now.
So, where you start is you've obviously are entrepreneurial and have built something in your real estate career, whether you're just starting out or in whatever phase you're at in real estate. So that same systems and processes that you have to do to be successful needs to be applied equally or greater based on your operation. So my operation, obviously, with Brent was prior to that. I've known Brent for 20 years, been in real estate 2004, 5, and 6, and kind of couldn't make it through I wasn't, hitting it on all cylinders in the sales department, and as my buddy did, and he made it through the crash and was very successful. He actually went to Keller Williams during that time. But ultimately, I kind of had to get out of real estate, as a lot of people did. I transitioned out, and I started elder care facilities with my wife, and I've done that. And they've been successful. I still have those. I have 3 of those. And I got back into real estate in 2012. Brent and I decided to kind of pitch the idea to our wives, because we're kind of the yin and yang of kind of one another. For example, if you guys have read the book Rocket Fuel, Rocket Fuel's by Bjorkman, there's a visionary and an integrator. So the way I would view it is whatever operation you have, you need to have both of those components. A lot of times agents try to wear too many hats, and they do it because, you're good at a few things. If you're good at a lot of things, it's really, really tough to let it out of your control, because you know why? You think you can do it better, faster, more efficiently, and ultimately maybe you can, but what happens is you can't scale. So if you can't scale, then you just keep you keep running into the same thing over and over and over again. So I'll get into more of this. I want to hear from everybody else, but that's kind of what you need to do in order to begin your systems and processes. Basically, you got to be able to think outside and let control go. So we'll talk more about that. I want to hear more from everybody else.
Right on. Well, I appreciate that, James. So Kevin, is your mic working now? Do I understand that correctly? No audio still. All right. So, Mr. Reese, let's move on to you. Same question. Agents come to you, I'm sure, all the time. I know for a fact all the time, because your reputation definitely precedes you. You're a master at this. How does somebody get started in setting up when it comes to agent attraction, whether it's creating lists or tracking or charts, all the different things that come with it? Where do you suggest people start?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the biggest things that you have to do is you have to start with making your list and dividing that list into three different columns. Most people have a bottleneck or a constraint that keeps them from recruiting. And so I believe it's no different than a video. The reason people don't shoot video on social media is not because they don't think it works. They don't know what to say. So knowing what to say and who you're going to say it to. So who's the target audience and what you're gonna say is where you start. I think one of the things that really made it easier for me helping other people was realizing that you had to distill it down to the principles. So what I usually do is once they make the list, I have them segment that list by 3 different categories: people who are at their income level, below their income level, and above their income level, and then help them align an invitation script. So anytime you're doing agent attraction, you're really you're creating an invitation to something, whether that's an invitation to attend shareholders, whether that's an invitation to watch or to participate on a 3-way call after watching a video, whether that's an invitation to watch a 3-way call, to come to a lunch and learn, to have lunch, to do a virtual mastermind. Those are all invitations. And so you have to identify the target audience and the invitation you're going to use. And I feel like when I'm helping people craft their or really co-create their list of people, that list is usually created not only it's by people that they know and people that they don't know. And so when you don't know somebody, you have to have a little bit of a different approach than if you do know somebody. And so I think you start with the people that you do know, and you kind of got to get out of your own way and start. A lot of people, they don't. I look at it like when I was successful in real estate, there became a time where I looked at a for sale by owner and I knew that if I didn't at least take a whack at the pinata, someone else was going to get it. And so for me, I think that you got to kind of have that happen to you a couple times to where you finally get to the point of, taking action. But if I could go back in time and whisper in my own ear, I would have made the list of the people and I would have included on that list the people I thought were never going to join, because the fact is what I'm seeing today and what I learned from wonderful Sheila Farajan, early on in my recruiting efforts, was she was sharing stories with me about people that she had talked to over a year ago. So I just changed my mindset to think that everybody's gonna come, and that I want to build that relationship and be the person that they potentially turn to when they have questions.
It's great insight, Michael. By the way, I gotta give a shout out to your good friend and my good friend. I like to call him my grand sponsor, Curtis Johnson. He always likes to tell Fred and I they're all coming. It's just a matter of time. And I've certainly adapted that mindset as well. So great points there. I really love talking about making the 3 different lists and your target of who you're going to go talk to. Go. What about you? Talk to me about getting started with, whether that's creating lists or tracking. What did you do to get prepared to start attracting to EXP?
Yeah, so for me, all road lead back to Rome. All road leads back to social media. In my case, all my sales transaction and also all of my agent attraction was with the power of social media. So that's the only thing I can talk about. I necessarily did not have a list. I shared the good, bad, and the ugly. And in my opinion, by letting the world know and sharing your success, what's working for you, what's not working for you, by helping others through the community of real estate, people have FOMO, a fear of missing out. So if you talk about what's working for you and what's paying your mortgage payment this month, or all the positive in your life and the negative, because some things don't work out, and by sharing what's not working, it's also helping somebody of not committing that same mistake. And that's what's been working for me, is just literally sharing the opportunity with the power of social media. I call it, I guess this might not be the perfect word for it, but I call it baiting. So just like in fishing, when you bait the fish. So I throw little snippets out there, and eventually they're gonna bite on something. They might not bite about agent attraction. They might not bite about stocks or revenue share or sales or the cap or the cut, or icon agent, but eventually they're going to bite something that EXP offers will resonate with them. And with anything else, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But that's my way of being able to reach the masses, because I don't have the sphere of influence. And prior to EXP, I did not attend local events. So for me, prior to EXP, everybody was a competition. So I don't necessarily have those local connections because I was so sales focused and I was just going for that next transaction. I really didn't have the time to develop personal relationship with other realtors. So social media is my platform.
Awesome. And you definitely rock. You are taking advantage of social in a big way. I love that. Tammy Pack, let's go to you. Talk to me about the same question, just because I know so many people ask this and there's a lot of different ways for doing this. How does one get started? What should they be thinking about to set up first when it comes to agent attraction, Tammy?
Well, it's kind of funny. A lot of mine, I feel like going forward is through social media, about putting out content and giving value and building relationships. And those people who are looking for you will find you. I love what Brent says, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So I would say I do a lot through social. However, I would say that the biggest successes I've had have come from direct calls. But these were direct calls I made to people I knew through other coaching platforms and had kept up with through social media. So it all weaves in. And I called people that I thought it really made sense to. One of them, I reached out by Messenger one day because we were on the party bus with Jay and Mike and that whole crazy group heading to the Kentucky Derby, and I texted this one guy and I was like, why aren't you here? This is crazy. You're the one person I am texting from this bus saying you should be here. And it was genuine. He knew he was the only person I was talking to, and he's now with our group. Matter of fact, his name is Mark Pattison, and you're going to be hearing a whole lot more out of him. He's amazing. But I said, this is right up your alley. You're crazy. You should be here. So that went from May till he joined in February, late February. So you have to look at all of these things as long, nurturing processes. Another thing I'm doing right now that is, I believe I'm going to look back and see how effective it was, is I took out a $100 a month private team suite. And it's been great for my personal team to use. We're having our Monday and Wednesday meetings in there. But in addition, we created Realtor Boot Camp on social media, and Mark Pattison, Mary Maloney, and I, and a ton of people are going in there for trainings. We're building relationships. We're giving and giving with no expectation, but again, the right people find you. But leveraging that then to a new level, saying some people are enjoying those trainings, to give a much more detailed training, because in boot camp we try to keep them 10 minutes. But I said, if you want to go deep on this, I'm going to teach this in my virtual suite. So to get in there, EXP's been so generous to give us these passes through the end of May. Doesn't matter where you are, no strings attached, but that's where I'm doing the training. And I've learned realtors will give you their social security number and their firstborn for any kind of template, checklist, or download. And so I have gotten 215 people so far to give me their email, their non-EXP, and say, yes, please get me a pass into the virtual world. And they show up. I had 50 people in my private team suite the other day because they wanted the download of my Trello template I was giving them. So now we're in conversation. They're writing back, thanking me. They're sending videos of them creating these, their own templates of this. So it's just creating that relationship. And one of my friends said, are you converting from that? I'm like, ask me in 3 months. Then I can come in there one time and go, hey, I'm signing on with EXP now. I'm a new person. Everything's changed. It's not going to happen. It's a process, right? It takes time. And I always tell people, I realize it's almost like asking someone to get a divorce. I said, because even when you aren't happy thrilled at your brokerage, there's probably someone there you really like and really care about. So I'm patient. I'm not pushing you. This is a process we're going through.
Y'all, Tammy just gave a master class in like 4 minutes. So hopefully you guys were taking notes. I know that I was. I want to, you guys, if you are seriously, if you're taking notes, write that down about getting the team suite and using it to basically give value to the agents you have a relationship with. That was huge. I wrote that down, Tammy. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is something that truthfully any of us could go and play like literally right now. And so thank you so much for sharing that. All right, Kevin, if you're back in yet on your phone or anything, just holler at me and I will come to you. But otherwise, I'm going to head back over to James with my next question, which is this one is a little bit differently. I'm going to ask you guys this. What do you wish you would have done earlier in your, I'll call it in your attraction business, or what do you wish you would have done differently when it comes to your attraction business and the whole system and process around it? James, let's start with you on that.
All right, great question. Brent and I have talked about this, and we've done some reverse engineering. And frankly, we hit the gate. It's interesting. We went to Tony Robbins. We joined in October of 2016. We went to Tony Robbins in November 2016, and we were lit on fire, literally, for real. And I don't think we'd have done much different. What each of you really need to do is actually decide you want to do this. You first have to, create a goal that you want to accomplish. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about their why. Absolutely. All of our whys are very similar, right? Our family, our friends, our wife, our children. And then we have an opportunity. And I don't know. I mean, I've heard Jay say this. If people haven't really seen the model, then, they'd all be here if they really see it. So that's our job. Our job is to tell the story. So ultimately, I don't think we'd have done much different. We hit the ground running. We were up. I mean, we ran a very, selling 60 homes ourselves. I was Brent's listing manager, in addition to an 18-member team managing that. And we were frankly ready for an opportunity, and this lit us on fire, and we saw it right away, like many of you did. And so the deal is you have to decide that you want to make this part of your life. Some people poke it with a stick, and they kind of want to just like put their feet in, and that's fine. You can jump in wherever you want to jump in. That the opportunity still exists. Actually, I believe it exists at a greater level. If you read the Blue Ocean Strategy, they talk about the red ocean and the blue ocean. The blue ocean is obviously an opportunity where there is no industry. And we still exist in a space that nobody else really exists. There's a few kind of copycats under 1,000 folks or so. But every one of you have a blue ocean opportunity. And literally you need to decide if you want to do this. So how big is your goal? That's where I would start. So make a 1 year, a 5 year, 10-year goal. I made a 1 year goal right away. I said, we're going to get 1,000 agents. And we got 1,000 agents. Then 2 year goal was 4,000 agents. Made that goal. We got 4,000 agents. So now Brent and I have a goal for 57,000 agents in 10 years. We are laser focused on those goals. Then we work backwards, reverse engineer from there, and nothing can stop you. So you have to decide, then you have to think about it, and then you have to plan, and then it's all about execution. So great question. I don't think we'd have done much different.
Great answer, man. I appreciate that. And I couldn't agree with you more. This is absolutely still a blue ocean opportunity, biggest we've ever seen in our lifetimes, I believe. Mr. Reese, what do you wish maybe that you would have done differently, or maybe something you started doing later you wish you would have done earlier on in your attraction business?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did last year is I created agent attraction training. So, and I offered it at the conference in Dallas, or was that in Las Vegas? So what I would have done is I'd have created that earlier, because I had over 1,300 people go through that training, and I got a lot of positive feedback. What I learned after creating that training was that there was a lot more training that was required. And so what I'm doing right now that I'm super excited about is I'm surveying my new recruits. So what I would have done was I would have made a more of an emphasis on helping the people that I recruited be successful, more successful faster. I thought I would do that by giving them access. I went in and I literally took 2 months, like creating step-by-step templates and guides and scripts to give people access to. But what I realized was a lot of people didn't know where to get that information. And so what I've now created is a set of surveys that I use when I bring on a new recruit. And so if you could imagine, when you bring somebody on, what I realized after talking to people, I would talk to somebody 90 days later, 6 months later, 8 months later, and they wouldn't know about something that they had access to. And so by surveying my new recruits and finding out, so I'm using basically a dynamic surveying process that allows me to survey on a new recruit and ask them right out of the gate. What I've realized is some people want to focus on growth and some people want to focus on agent attraction. And so being able to take and point them in the direction or give them a road map, if you will, on what they need to do based upon what their goals are, I would have created more of a customized roadmap. But which I do feel like I did. I feel like I did. I feel like where I dropped the ball was not surveying them 30 days later and saying, what's an example? An example would be, let's say I bring on a new partner and my goal is that in the first 30 days, we should do a Facebook Live together. I should have surveyed them after the 30 days and said, hey, my goal and effort is to make sure that we stay on track to hit the goals we originally talked about. If you could, take this quick 4-question survey, and one of them would be, have you scheduled your first Facebook Live announcement yet? If they said no, I would have dynamically created a calendar invite with them and me to schedule that. So I would have had what would have been kind of like their customer journey, if you will, of when they came on EXP, because I really think the power in EXP is not what I can do by myself, but what I can help the 3,000 people that have decided to partner with us, and what I can help them all do. If all of those people can go get 2 people by creating a better understanding. I'm going to say this, and this is kind of just poking out the weirdness in me, but I watched the Elon Musk interview with Joe Rogan this week, and he was just talking about how slow, like how basically our minds are like upload and download speed is like dial up, and he was just talking about his new product, Neuralink. And the thing is what I took away from the interview is like communication is lost in translation. And like all of these people in my downline, it's my job to be able to help them increase their bandwidth. And right now, if somebody doesn't have access to the information, their agent attraction might be on dial up. And so how can I help them go from a dial up to, like super fast, Wi-Fi, internet, speed where they can have everything that they need to know, not in a vacuum. So because your success is only as good as the weakest link in the process, I think assuming that the people that you recruit know about all of the things that you have to offer, even if it's something as simple as a Facebook group, could get lost in translation when they're 3 or 4 people deep. And so that's really my, the thing I'm excited about that I'm doing now is layering in surveys over the first year to make sure that those specific milestones and goals are being accomplished and that it's system dependent.
That's solid, Michael. No surprise that you really brought the value on that answer, my man. Thank you so much. Gogo, what about you? What do you wish that you would have done different, or maybe something that you implemented later that you wish going back, looking back, you would have done it sooner?
Yeah, I guess we learn as we go. You don't know the problems you're going to have until you cross that bridge. As the group is growing, we're heading into more and more problems. Like initially, I used to have in my calendar every person I personally sponsored into EXP. I would have them on one day in the month where I would have an automatic reminder to follow up with them, just kind of check in. Well, it got to the point where if I tried to check in with everyone, I would have like 3 to 4 phone calls a day. If I spend 10, 15 minutes with everybody, like that's time. So now that has to change. So now what we are doing, initially we just onboarded them, we provided them with all the guides. So we have a massive onboarding guide that has every link that you can think of they could possibly need. But when they onboard, they get so many emails and so many links and so many groups and all of the apps that EXP provides. So I feel like they get so overwhelmed that everything we provided to them, they just it kind of get lost. So now what we are doing is from the moment they show the first step of wanting to sign up, we have a spreadsheet where as soon as they fill in that spreadsheet, Christy, my office manager / right hand, my James, she gets notified. And then from that moment, she takes it, she starts a chain text message, and it's just an automated process that I'm copied on it. So I also know that everything is being taken care of. I see all of the correspondence back and forth from that agent that is joining between Christy and myself. So the whole onboarding process, Christy is literally holding their hand. And as soon as they're active in the system, that's when our VA takes over. And then the VA makes sure that they are part of every group, like the honey badgers, as Michael Reese was saying. when they fall, like I think Michael, 7 generations or so. So we fall so deep down. In order to make sure that everybody has access to everything, we literally have to spoon feed it to them. We have to make sure we are on a Zoom with them. So as soon as they're active, then Christy schedules an hour, sometimes 2 hour Zoom, and via Zoom, via screen sharing, we walk through every single step, make sure that they are part of Team Gogo, they are part of the Honey Badgers, they downloaded the workplace and the work chat, and they know how to get access to the broker, and they understand who to reach out to. And that's the other thing, it's so different. Like, I am your sponsor, but in many cases, I'm in a totally different state or different country from the agent that joined us. So I cannot help you with your contracts and things like that. Even though I'm a state certified mentor in the state of Michigan, I can't help someone in Florida. Our contracts are totally different. So then we have to literally show them how to get access. How do you get a hold of the broker? How do you get a hold of all of the different departments? So then Christy has that hour to 2 hour Zoom with them to make sure they got access to everything. Want it or not, like it or not, we're going to plug them in. I am going to make sure that they have access to everything I had access to. Now, what they're going to do with that information, that's up to them. You can lead the horse to the water. You can make them drink it. I think that is one quote that I am learning the hard way. Then from that moment on, after they have access to everything, then my VA takes over. So the VAs, we hired her probably 2 months ago now. She's amazing. She's from the Philippines. So her job is to make sure that if somebody has a birthday in our group, we celebrate them. If somebody iconed in our group, we celebrate them. If they have their first year anniversary, we do a live Zoom where we talk about where were they a year ago when they joined the EXP, why they joined the EXP, what changed since they joined the EXP. So all those kind of stuff of afterwards to follow up with everybody and make sure that they stay connected, because I can see, we also had a few agents that left the company, and even though it breaks my heart every single time I see it happen, I also saw it coming, because they weren't participating. They were not in our weekly team trainings Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. I've never seen them in the agent attraction Friday at 10 o'clock. So I could, in order to make sure that they stay connected, we have to follow up with them and kind of just pull them in to all of these different things that we offer. And yeah, I added also a Friday 10 a.m. agent attraction mastermind. It is up to them if they want to join or not. So it's open to everybody in the group. And I can see the ones that are there every single Friday, they are growing. And it's just, it melts my heart when I see their success. Like last Friday, one of my 3rd generations joined for the first time. And that was the first time she heard about the opportunity that she can plug people into my 3-way calls. I actually didn't know that, even though I talk about that probably every single week to the group. But if she misses that, or if her sponsor doesn't relay that information, then they just don't know. So there's this little 21-year-old girl, first year in real estate. She's a capper, which melts my heart. And then on top of it, she joined at that 10 o'clock call on Friday morning. And then Wednesday this week, she already had her first 3-way call. So I think what I would change is to make sure that you have the systems and processes in place, and you have the people in place, because especially when your group grows, there's only one of you and it takes a village. So that's what I would do, is make sure you have an assistant and systems in places. And if you can, hire a VA that can handle the things afterwards. So make sure that everybody feels a part of that community. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and then some. You actually started me going into what I wanted to ask next, but I want to go to Tammy first before I get into my next question that I have lined up for you. That was amazing, Gogo. Thank you. Tammy, what do you wish you would have done sooner or differently when it comes to your attraction business?
I probably waited longer than I should have to dig in, because I'm kind of a spreadsheet person. I want to understand things. Always kind of a nerdy student, and I don't like being asked questions I don't know the answer to. So I probably spent too long digging into all the details, making sure I understood them before I went out teaching or recruiting, talking to others about it. But what I should have done sooner is leverage the knowledge of the 3-way call. Now, I use 3-way calls all the time, and people that I've recruited can tell you I will try to figure out who the right person is, and I'll put good people on 2 to 3 different 3-way calls with different personalities. But that's something I think you should leverage sooner, learning as you go, and not worrying that you don't have everything figured out. Just go ahead and start reaching out.
Solid. It's funny, I've heard that come up a few times just in conversation this week about leveraging those 3-way calls. I know I've been in a couple conversations about that. So that's great. Let's talk about retention and support for a moment. James, you guys, obviously you have a big organization. And so obviously the bigger the organization you have, the greater the chance of more people leaving. What are some things we can do, whether we've got a really big organization like yours or something like I just started today, and I can put a system into place to make sure that I'm keeping my agents engaged, productive, and identifying any sort of, potential opportunities to help people along the way?
Cool, great question. I think the way I look at this, again, I look at the book of business. You guys are needing systems and models on how to kind of look and create and really execute on building an organization based on your goals. So with retention, as your organization grows, you definitely, in the industry in itself, you have a lot of attrition. Already people are lose a lot, and then there's the newer agents that are trying to find a foot. So what we do is we find local events. So the way I look at this is you have your real estate bucket, you have your attraction bucket, and then you have your support of all the people you attract. Your real estate bucket is everything you guys have known and done for many years. Your attraction is new to you. So the new to you is the system that we've created and that we've copied from Rob Flick, Gene Frederick, which is, make a list of names, create curiosity, begin to show them the webinar. Then you show them the webinar, just like Gogo and Tammy talked about, three-way conversation. And then they decide, and then you support them. So the way I look at it is in your attraction levels, you have to start. If you can get 1, you can get 10. If you can get 10, you can get 20. That 20 will turn into 100. I would call that your first phase. So from 0 to 100, that's kind of phase 1. By the way, that's the hardest phase because that's where the most inertia needs to happen, the most work, Brent and I were in our office and none of y'all heard from us for a year. Why? We were pounding it every day. In real estate, we sold 60 million in real estate. In addition, we took Fridays, if you heard Brent's story, and we created inertia. We created momentum. So that phase 1 would be a 1 to 100. Then I would phase it out from there. So as you go through, I'd agree with Gogo. Your first thing for attrition is your onboarding. There's something called the world, right? And nobody understands EXP world. It's actually called EXP world, right? It's a whole new world. So getting people to shift their focus, you need to create a good experience for them. EXP corporate does a great job and has been improving since we've been here, their onboarding experience. But that does not negate the weird experience from stepping on our planet. Our planet is different. So I would agree that first phase, 0 to 100, you need, and ongoing, we have over 7,000, so that's phase 6. So I think onboarding is very important in that first phase for attrition. The other thing I'll say is you have to develop a local leadership where you are making agents better every day, where you're creating opportunity. Nobody in your community, you have an opportunity to be the regional owner of your market. And whether you step up and lead is up to you. So we've stepped up and lead. We hold meetings. We create opportunities for leaders to speak and make real estate agents better, sell more real estate. That's the best way to attack the attrition, is that we sell more real estate. That's all I got right now.
Love it. What I think I just heard, which is something I heard from an early mentor of mine, was sometimes the best defense is an amazing offense, right? Just keep going as well too. So that was some really good stuff in there, James. Mr. Reese, let's move to you. When it comes to retention and support, keeping the agents engaged, now I'm lucky because I happen to be one of those agents, so I get to see this, right, and feel it myself. But for those of us who aren't a part of your organization, talk to us about retention and support and keeping agents engaged and maybe identifying potential problems down the road.
Yeah, I think one of the first things is when you bring an agent on, it's all about duplication because you can't do it for 3,000 people. So I think the way that you bring people on is the way they're going to bring people on and the way that they're going to bring people on. So I just had found, and this is unique, but leveraging, I mean, we're in the world today, but if this event would have been in a physical location and you were one of my new recruits between the whistles, I would have gotten a commitment the day that you got on board, what event you were gonna attend. I think getting people to live events helps them. That's what did it for me. You know, I went to a live event and my entire paradigm changed. And I had been at EXP. I'd walked by Jay's office 100 times. You know, I got the concept. I had even talked to agents and recruited a few. But until I really got to the event and heard all of the stories, you know, that really lit the fire under me. I mean, like I got there day one and wanted to come home and get to work. And so what I do is that I kind of have a process that I bring them through. And one of those things is, you know, getting them to the live event. And obviously when I'm leading those people, I'm asking them, you know, I'm connecting with them and asking them who they're speaking to and who are they speaking to specifically about getting them to a live event. And I think getting people to the live event, one of the benefits that you get is that you have so many people, like today as an example, we're obviously in a virtual event, but you have so many people willing to pour into them. You don't know what breakout is going to make the light bulb go off for them, whether it's an agent who's trying to get their first recruit and you're trying to encourage them to bring somebody to an event, whether it's someone who's been at EXP and, you know, they haven't really taken advantage of the agent attraction. So that's what I did. And that's what I've done in the past. Obviously, this event, what I did was I have a pipeline that I use, and that pipeline is segmented from hit list to top 100 to working hot, engaged, different segments, and all of those different segments receive communication from me inviting them to the EXP event. So I put a lot of time, energy, and effort, again, leveraging this virtual event, again, because there's so much effort and energy that's been put behind this. I don't think really you can get a better tool to get somebody to experience the benefits of being here.
So true, Michael. Thank you so much. We're coming up on about 5 or so minutes to go, guys. I think we could probably ask 100 more questions of these amazing panel members, but since we've only got about 4 or 5 minutes here, Gogo, let's go to you, and then we'll go to Tammy, both with the same question around retention support. Gogo, I know you answered a lot of that, so if you got anything else maybe to add there too, we'd love to hear it around retention and supporting those agents and potentially even identifying, like you mentioned someone left and you knew it, that they were leaving. How do you maybe systems around identifying that stuff earlier?
Yeah, I think it's just having the time now and having the systems and the people in places to have more opportunity to kind of pull them in to be involved. I feel like there's so many different types of personalities. I'm the one that I'm going to get to the end of Google. If I want to know something, I'm going to know it because I have zero problem asking the questions. I have no problem knowing my upline with questions I don't understand. But I also realize there are people out there that don't feel comfortable with that. They want it fed to them. They want to conduct business in quiet. And I feel like when I see the agents that are not active, we need to reach out to them more often. So now we are going back to, I personally also text people about every 2 weeks. So I have it in my calendar. Literally as a quick reminder, just text so-and-so, text so-and-so, text so-and-so. So every morning I wake up at 8 o'clock, I know who I need to follow up with that day. It might be a text, it might be a phone call, it might be a DM, just depending what is their language of communication. And then also my VA, we reached out to everybody in the group and getting their birthdays, and we keep an eye on when they're icon, and we keep an eye on their social media platforms so we can celebrate with them. And I just think by keeping them involved and continuously reminding them of all of the opportunities that we have is definitely helping making sure that they are staying and they have all the tools. So usually my text message is like, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything that I can do for you today? It's something very simple like that. And then they tell me if they need help with it. Oh, I don't know the answer to this question. Or what would you do if somebody said this? And I would just answer it so they know what to do, copy and paste. Communication, I think, is key.
So awesome. Thank you. No surprise that you had a ton of value there to add. Tammy, what about you? Retention, systems, keeping agents supported and feeling supported and keeping them engaged. What's worked for you?
I don't necessarily consider it my great strength necessarily. I'm kind of a hodgepodger. I put together a really nice brochure that people like that has a lot of the breakdown. I spent a lot of time on that. I've taken that over time and turned it from one brochure that's geared toward brand new agents versus individual agents versus teams and brokerages. I've got spreadsheets where I track people. I got a few books over here. So long story short, I actually have started working with an agent who is just joined me last week, actually. Her name's Tracy, and she was a recruiter for a different brokerage before joining me last week. So she has a tremendous amount of experience in this, and we're kind of partnering up on some things, working on systems and processes because that's more of a strength of hers. I have all these ideas, but I'm going in 100 directions, selling, leading a team, doing these trainings, all of these things. So it gets overwhelming. So sometimes you just have to leverage someone else's help, right? You've got to bring in somebody that has strengths in those areas. One other thing that I would like to throw in before you guys wrap up is you're exactly right. One of the tricks is getting them in the world and to understand the value and not to be overwhelmed with what's this weird avatar virtual world thing. That's been my primary reason for doing the trainings in the team suites. I said, these are people that aren't with EXP. If they care enough to spend a few minutes to download the world, make an avatar, and come into the suite for training, I feel like I've gotten over one of the biggest 3 or 4 hurdles of all of EXP. So I've got to have something nice enough in there, useful enough in there for them to spend the few minutes. At one point I was saying, hey, you guys want my Trello template? Once our Realtor Bootcamp group grows to 5,000, I'll give it to whoever wants it. Well, everybody wanted it, but it's not really in their control. Our group's about a couple thousand people right now. So finally I said, you know what? Y'all can't control that, but here's what you can control. And download the world, make an avatar, and show up for training. I'm going to give the template to every one of you who shows the effort to do those steps because you're the ones that are going to implement it. And man, people are clamoring all over themselves to do that. So at least now they know what the world is and they see it's not that big a deal.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That was super valuable. Guys, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a link there in the chat that Celeste put in there for us. If you haven't seen it, please go ahead and scroll up just a little bit, grab that, fill out that link for the survey. The title of the session is Agent Attraction Systems and Processes. We thank you guys for having taken some time to spend with us here today over the last 45 minutes or so. Fred, anything else that you want to add before we wind up for the session?
Just highly encourage everybody to make sure you go back through the chat session. We put a lot of different links in here. Michael Reese shared his training system that he put together and some different links. I linked together the book that James mentioned earlier. So if you have any questions, I'll monitor the chat for a few more minutes and see if we can get you some of the resources that some of you were asking for. But appreciate all of you being here today. Remember, we're all part of EXP and also Workplace. So if you want to reach out to any of the presenters here, probably the best way to do that is to find them in Workplace and send them a direct message. So thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you guys. Great job.
What is your name?
Presenters' name were Kevin Kaufman and Fred Weaver for the for purposes
Kevin
of the
and
service.
Fred, would I just message you in Workplace because I'm not on the world, I'm on the mobile app.
Sure, feel free. We'll be happy to help you there, connect with you there. No problem at all.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I just wanted to get those resources. I'm on the world. Or no, I'm not in the world, I'm mobile.
Thanks all. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great.
So if you're still watching this, that was a live panel that we just live streamed today from the EXP shareholders event. It was an incredible panel of different experts talking about systems and attraction procedures. There's a ton of other good stuff on YouTube that were live streamed from this shareholders event. We just wanted to share that with you guys today from Mastermind. Hope you guys are doing really good.